Welcome, I'm TW. My take on the emerald tablet of Thoth the Atlantean. In the second phrase, it said that Thoth was an immortal. That is, he had conquered death, passing only when he will, and even then not through death. His vast wisdom made him ruler over various Atlantean colonies. Now, they say Thoth was immortal. That means he was not a physical person anymore. He was a spiritual thing. He has conquered death. Death only belongs to the physical structure, to the body as we know it. So if you're not physical, that means you won't be facing death itself. Yeah, the body can fall off and go its way, but the spiritual go its own way. And for you to get to this stage where you're immortal and you conquer death, then that take a lot of knowledge, a lot of knowing the ins and outs of the spiritual planes. You got to know how these things work for you to accomplish this kind of thing, to eliminate death itself and get out of the flesh itself, out of the physical body, and become a spirit and become what is eternal. So he conquered death and only passing when he wills, but not through death. So he take a break whenever he's ready, and he come back whenever he's ready. And still in preface, they say, he erected the Great Pyramid over the entrance of the Great Halls of Amenti. Now, the Great Halls of Amenti, you should look at this as a spiritual place, because remember, this is a spiritual book we're dealing with here. It's not talking about physical structure majority of the time. So if you're looking at this on a physical level, it might be a confusing kind of book to go through. If you're looking at it from a spiritual level, then you will see with a lot of clarity what is being said here. And you can see the process for what it is. And this is what I mean, because it goes on to say, the halls of Amenti became the underworld, the halls of the gods, where the soul passed after death for judgment. Now, this reminds me of the judgment scene in the Egyptian book Coming Forth by Day, where the art is weighed up against the feather to see which one is lighter and which one is heavier. This is the judgment scene where the soul passed after death for judgment. Now, if you look at this, that means this is not a physical place. So the halls of Amenti we're talking about here is a spiritual place, because it's saying here the halls of Amenti became the underground, the halls of the gods. The gods are not a physical thing. The gods are a spiritual thing, where the soul pass after death for judgment. So look at this carefully and read it, and you will see what it is right there. Yeah, so here in the introduction of the Emerald Tablet, It said, man's search for the understanding of the laws that regulate his life is endless. But here, this is important. Yet always just beyond the veil, we shield the higher plane from material man's vision, the truth exists. This reminds me of Socrates in the cave scene where the people were looking at the shadows and thinking the shadows were real. And there's a veil at the entrance of the cave, or where the puppet show is, where the light is shining through the veil to have the effect of the shadows on the wall. And right in the upper world on the outside, where he's talking here, he's saying on the higher plane. So you could call in Socrates, on the exterior is the higher plane where the guy goes up and he can look and see what's real. So this reminds me of this old scene here where he said, yet always just beyond the veil which shield the higher plane from material man's vision, the truth exists. Right there. So this really tell you something. This is, we're not talking about anything physical here. This is right here. This is totally spiritual. This is on a different level. This is on a higher plane, a higher dimension. It's not in a material setting we're looking at with these sentences right here. This is on a spiritual level. And here it goes on to say, ready to be assimilated by those who enlarge their vision by turning inward. Right here, by turning inward, not outward in their search. That means you gotta go deep within yourself to see this, to get assimilated into this. And just like how you spend time looking at exterior objects, now you gotta spend some time looking at the interior world within the mind itself, the movement of the thoughts on the spiritual level, the mental level. Turn inward, not outward, because outward is where physical stuff is, but inward is where the spiritual, the mental stuff is, where if you turn inward, then you can see the movement of what's bringing things into existence on the external. Then it goes on to say, in the silence of material senses lie the key to unveiling of this wisdom. In silence. So the material, the physical body itself gotta be silent. You gotta subdue your own body. You gotta eliminate your own body in that sense. You gotta bring it where it doesn't affect the spiritual realm anymore. You gotta bring it to a place where it doesn't affect the spiritual plane anymore. This means you gotta go into meditation to silence this. All the noise, all the exterior noise you gotta get rid of and get into the silence of material senses. So when those are silence, then that's where you find the key. That's when you know exactly what you are. You find the key to unveiling the wisdom that is hidden within you. Then it goes on to say the highest knowledge is on unutterable, for it exists as an entity in lanes which transcend all material words or symbol. This is beautiful here, because if you realize when you go inside the thoughts, it's not coming in loud noises. If you're not paying attention within yourself, within the mind, you won't hear or realize that there is thoughts coming in at you if you don't get into the mental space within yourself, because thoughts are coming in, they're unutterable. This is the knowledge, the wisdom coming in. And I'm not saying all of this wisdom is good and all of it is bad. I'm not saying this, but this is where things are coming in to trigger the thinking process, trying to get into existence. Once you accommodate the thoughts that are coming in, with at beginning, it's not coming with a voice. It's unutterable. So you pick up on the signal that it's sending and you interpret that once it goes through the thinking process and come out into existence. Now, if you look at the process here, it's a process that every one of us is doing every single second of the day, where a thought comes in and go through the thinking process and we bring it out into existence with the ideas that come within those thoughts. Once we make a decision, we take the action and we either build that thing or we become that thing. All the knowledge that comes into existence through man is coming from within man, if you recognize that. All the thoughts that comes into existence through man is coming through this route, which is unutterable. Look around you and look within yourself, and you can confirm for yourself, within yourself, that every thought that comes in to you is unutterable. And this is the process that's playing out within every single human being that's on the planet. Yeah. So he went on to say, this is Doriel. He went on to say in the introduction, one of the greatest law is the law that's responsible for man as a material being. And material man should connect himself with the spiritual man through the intellectual man and partake of the material and immaterial. This means of the physical and the spiritual material we're talking about here. This means he got to develop the intellectual part, the intellectual side of himself. That means he got to dig deep within himself to know who he is and what he is, to see what is what within himself, to see the movement on this plane, the intellectual plane, the spiritual plane, the mental plane. The final goal here is to become one with the universal consciousness. This is to attain spiritual consciousness. This is the highest goal of spiritual attainment. That's why I say this is not on a physical level we're dealing with this. This is on a spiritual level. So to fully understand what's happening within these lines, within these sentences, within these words, go deep within you. Understand the spiritual aspect of your being and you will get a lot out of this book and other books that are filled with this kind of insight. Remember to bring some clarity and some awareness into your creative space. 10 to 12 deep breaths can get you started. Thanks for dropping by. Peace out.